Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karna Devi Dasi from Lincoln.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Guru Maharaj ki Jai. This is Shyamaguri Devi Dasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Shamagari Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to the assembled Vaishnavas. Vasundhara Devi Dasi from Bengaluru. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vasundhara Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavas pranams to you and all devotees here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Eka Radhika Lila Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Ekaradhika Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call. We're extremely fortunate to have Her Grace Krishna Rupa Mataji here with us today. And Mataji would be enlightening us by discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 19 and verse 6. But before we dive into this nectarine class, I will request Albhadra Kripa Prabhuji to share a brief introduction about today's speaker, Her Grace Krishna Rupa Mataji. So Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and over to you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam to you and all the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Sheikh Guruji and Gauranga. Here's a brief introduction for our speaker today. Her Grace Krishna Rupa Devi Mataji. Mataji joined ISKCON in 1998 and was initiated by His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Mataji is my god sister too. In 1999 at ISKCON Pune Temple. Mataji is a software engineer, MBA from Amity University, B.Ed from Mumbai University, Microsoft Certified System Engineer, Cisco Certified Network Professional, and a Java Certified Programmer. She has over 10 years of experience in the IT industry, worked for companies like HP, Dell, Wipro, former teacher with the Delhi Public School. For her spiritual guidance, Mataji gives motivational talks on stress management, art of positive thinking, time management, personality development, especially for school children, youth, and corporates. Over the years, she has been invited to deliver such seminars to students in various premier institutes, schools, and colleges of the country like AIMS, New Delhi, Manvastatsali School, New Delhi, Lady Shri Ram School for Women, New Delhi, Lady Shri Ram's College, for Women, New Delhi College of Arts and Commerce, St. Mira's College for Girls, Pune, Bharati Vidya Bhavan College, Pune, and various esteemed colleges in Pune. Haribol. She guides many young girls and women in leading meaningful lives of peace and happiness. She also conducted seminars on stress management, time management, art of positive thinking, companies like Dell, Wipro, Sony, Jano, New Delhi. Mataji is currently serving in ISKCON. She is a teacher of Bhakti Shastri, IDC classes, Srimad Bhagavatam study circles, and short seminars online. Sunday kids schools at her home too. Hari Bol, so many services. Jai Jai. Over to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dhanavad.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the introduction. Hare Krishna, Krishna Rupa Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for giving us your valuable time and association this morning and enlightening us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Without further ado, I would like to request you to please take over from here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much for inviting me and giving me a chance to serve the devotees. So I would just like to quickly share the screen on that particular shloka. Give me 1 second. Yeah, that's it. So this is a very wonderful shloka. And coincidentally, what has happened is the last time I gave a class, it was in women. And this class also actually glorifies Mother Lakshmi. So I think there's a special connection where me being a woman, I get, classes in women only. So let's dive into the shloka. Vishnu Patti Mahamaye Mahapurusha Lakshane Prete tha me Mahabhage Loka Matar Namostute. Somebody like to repeat? Vishnu Patni Mahamaye
Vishnu Patni Mahamaye
Mahapurusha Lakshane
Mahapurusha Lakshane
Priye tha me Mahabhage
Priyetha me Mahabhage
Loka Matar Namostute.
Lokamatar Namostute
Vishnu Patni Mahamaye
Vishnu Patni Mahamaye
Mahapurusha Lakshane
Mahapurusha Lakshane
Ithema Mahabhage
Priyetha me Mahabhage
Loka Matar Namostute.
Lokamatar Namostute
Patni Mahamaye
Vishnu Patni Mahamaye
Mahapurusha Lakshane
Mahapurusha Lakshane
Yetheta me Mahabhage
Priyetha me Mahabhage
Lokamatar Namostute.
Lokamatar Namostute.
Let's see the synonyms. Vishnu Patni, O wife of Lord Vishnu.
Oh,
Please
wife of Vishnu.
Vishnu Patni Mahamaye.
Mahamaye, O energy of Lord Vishnu.
Mahamaye, or energy of Lord Vishnu.
Mahapurusha Lakshane, possessing the qualities and opulences of Lord Vishnu.
Mahapurusha Lakshane, possessing the qualities and opulence of Lord Vishnu.
Priyetetaha, kindly be pleased.
Priyetetaha, kindly be
Kindly be pleased.
May upon me.
May
upon
upon
me.
me.
Mahabhage, O goddess of
Mahabhage,
Goddess of fortune.
Mahabhage, O goddess of fortune.
Lokamata, O mother of the world.
O mother of the
Lokamata, O mother of God.
Namaha, obeisances.
Namaha.
Namaha, obeisances.
Astu, may there be.
May there be.
Say unto you.
Say unto you.
So, translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After profusely offering obeisance unto Lord Vishnu, the devotee should offer respectful obeisances unto Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, and pray as follows. O wife of Lord Vishnu, O internal energy of Lord Vishnu, you are as good as Lord Vishnu himself, for you have all his qualities and opulences. O goddess of fortune, please be kind to me. O mother of the entire world, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord has multifarious potencies. Parasya Saktir Vividha Suryate. Since Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is the Lord's very precious potency, she is addressed here as Mahamaya. The word Maya means Shakti. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme, cannot exhibit his power everywhere without his principal energy. It is said Shakti Shaktiman Abhed. The power and the powerful are identical. Give me 1 minute. Therefore, Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is the constant companion of Lord Vishnu. They remain together constantly. One cannot keep Lakshmi in one's home without Lord Vishnu. To think that one can do so is very dangerous. To keep Lakshmi or the riches of the Lord without the service of the Lord is always dangerous. For then Lakshmi becomes the illusionary energy. With Lord Vishnu, however, Lakshmi is the spiritual energy. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarini. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita, Shri Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi, Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, dear devotees, welcome for this class. And thank you so much for acknowledging whenever I actually give classes, you're always there enthusiastically. So thank you for your enthusiastic participation. So if you see today's class is a very special class in the sense that I'm going to cover 2 points in this. I'll be covering about what is the Maya Shakti of the Lord. Primarily, I'll be covering about what is Mahamaya and Yogamaya. And I'll be covering the 4th aspect of devotional service, that is Pada Sevanam. Because Mother Lakshmi is the personification, or she's the epitome of Pada Sevanam to Lord Vishnu. And if you see, any material opulences that a person obtains by, offering some prayers to Mother Durga, they are temporary. In the Bhagavad Gita also, the 7th chapter, 23rd shloka says that Antavattu phale tesham tad bhavanti alpa medasa. So men who have very, small intelligence, they desire only temporary happiness. We actually have seen that, one of the disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta wanted to enjoy the property of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, being very merciful towards him, gave him that temporary property. But he did not give the power to preach the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. That special mercy or the power to preach was given to Srila Prabhupada, who did not want any material things from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, but he only wanted to serve him. So even if you see in the history or in Ramayana, Ravana also, what he wanted to do, though he had actually abducted Mother Sita and he had taken Sita in his custody, he also, though he had taken forcibly, of course, Mother Sita was not the original Sita that he had taken, and Sita was but an expansion of Maya, or Durga Devi. So instead of winning the favor of Mother Lakshmi, Ravana and his whole family were vanquished by the power of Durga Devi. Shishti Sthiti Pralaya Shadana Shaktir Eka, Brahma Samhita says. So even in the Bhagavatam also, where Mother Devaki, so even this Karyarthe, it is referring to one who is attracting the pregnancy of Devaki and who had bewildered even Mother Yashoda. And these pastimes are very confidential. So the Supreme Lord, he ordered Yogamaya to bewilder all his associates in his pastimes, and even bewilder Kamsa also. So to give service to the Lord, Yogamaya appeared along with Mahamaya. So Mahamaya refers to Jaya Sammohitam Jagat, one who bewilders the entire material world. So from this statement, it is like, that Yogamaya, so Mahamaya is like you can say, partial expansion of Yogamaya, and that is how she becomes actually Mahamaya. And then she is bewildering the conditioned souls. So the entire creation, if you see, has two divisions. One is the transcendental or spiritual, and the other is material. So Yogamaya, what she is doing, she is managing the spiritual world. And her partial expansion as Mahamaya, she is managing the material world. So even in the Narad Pancharatra, Mahamaya is a partial expansion of Yogamaya. And over there, the Supreme, clearly it is saying that the Supreme Lord has one potency, which is sometimes described as Durga. And even Brahma Samhita, the 44th shloka, says that Chaye yas vibhuvanani vibharati Durga. So Durga is not different from Yogamaya. So if you understand Durga properly, then that person is immediately liberated, because Durga is originally the spiritual potency, the Haladini Shakti, by whose mercy a particular person can understand the Supreme Lord very easily. So says that Radha Krishna Pranayar Vikritir Haladini Shakti Asmad. In the Adi Leela of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this Mahamaya Shakti is actually is covering of Yogamaya, and that is why she is called the covering potency. By this, covering potency, this entire material world is actually bewildered. Yaya sammohitam jagat. So, the bewildering conditioned souls and the liberating devotees are both functions belonging to this Yogamaya. And when that, the transferring of the pregnancy of Devaki and keeping Mother Yashoda in very deep sleep were both done by Yogamaya. Mahamaya cannot act upon such devotees. So they are, because devotees are always liberated. So although it is not possible for Mahamaya to control these liberated souls, or the Supreme Lord, she is bewildering Kamsa. I think somebody's mic is on, and can you please put it on mute, because I'm just getting a little distracted. Thank you so much. So the action of Yogamaya over here, she's presenting herself before Kamsa, was the action actually of Mahamaya and not the Yogamaya. Yogamaya cannot even, see or touch polluted people like Kamsa. So, in the Vaivasvat Manu, where Mahamaya says that I shall take birth as the daughter of Yashoda. And what will be her name? She said that her name will be Vindhyachala Vasini. So even in the Charitamrita, if you see that there are 11 expansions of Rudra, or Lord Shiva, and there are different names and expansions. So the 8th form of Rudra, which is called earth, water, air, fire, and the sun, moon, and Somyaji. So these Rudras have 5 faces. They have 3 eyes and 10 arms. So sometimes it is found that Rudra is compared to Brahma, and he's also considered as a living entity. But Rudra is explained as a partial expansion of the Supreme Lord, and he's compared to Shesha. So like Lord Shiva is also therefore the expansion of Lord Vishnu, and his capacity for annihilating the creation, the one of the living entities. So as an expansion of Lord Vishnu, he is called Hara. He's transcendental to the material qualities. But when he is touched with Tamogun, he appears contaminated by the material modes of nature. So now in the Srimad Bhagavatam and in the Brahma Samhita, this is explained that in the Bhagavatam 10th canto, if you see, currently I'm studying the 10th canto. So over there it is stated that Lord Rudra is always associated with the material nature. And when he's in the neutral unmanifested state, but when the modes of material nature are agitated, then he associates with the material nature from a distance. So in the Brahma Samhita, the relationship between Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva also given as, Lord, it is compared to that of milk and yogurt that we know. And in the Vayu Puran also, I won't be going into much details. I'll just, just touch on the surface level because I want to focus more on the Pada Sevanam aspect. So even in the Vayu Purana also, there is a description of Sadashiv, in one of the Vaikuntha planets. He's a direct expansion of Lord Krishna's form for his pastimes. And in the Bhagavatam also, there is a distinction between these two Mayas, the Yoga Maya and the Mahamaya. So, wherein in Krishna's Rasa Leela with the gopis, and the gopis get bewildered, or their bewilderment in respect to their husbands or their father-in-laws and relatives, actually is the arrangement of Yoga Maya, in which Mahamaya cannot influence them at all. And Bhagavatam, if you see, gives sufficient evidence of this when it clearly says that Yoga Maya Upashrita. And there were even Asuras also over there, where, we had Salva and Duryodhana also, who were completely bereft of devotional service, though they were actually seeing Krishna's carrier, and they had seen even the universal form, and they could not understand Krishna to be the Supreme Lord. So this is also actually bewilderment. But this bewilderment is due to Mahamaya. And therefore, Maya, which drags a person from the Supreme Lord, is called even Jada Maya also. And Maya acts on the Maya which acts on a transcendental platform is called Yoga Maya. So when, for example, when Nanda Maharaj was taken away by Varuna, he saw Krishna's opulence, but he thought of Krishna as his son, which is actually a parental feeling or a parental love in the spiritual world. And there Yoga Maya is acting, not Jada Maya or Mahamaya. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also has actually commented on this. So even in the morning when I was reading, the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, where Prabhupada is actually describing about Yoga Maya. So Yoga Maya is the name of the internal potency which is making the Lord forget, which is making the person forget himself and become an object for his pure devotee in, different transcendental mellows. I'll explain this with example in a very short while. So this Yoga Maya potency creates a very spiritual sentiment in the minds of the damsels of Raja, by which they think that, Krishna is my Pamar. And though, if you see, Yoga Maya means the mercy of the Supreme Lord, which is connecting a devotee in transcendental loving service of the Lord. And Mahamaya means the external potency of the Lord, which is putting a conditioned soul into illusion that he will be happy by some material adjustment. This is one of the letters Prabhupada had written to one of his disciples. So, Yog Maya, I mean, there is, Krishna's exhibition also of Maya, but it is temporary. And in the spiritual world, there is, the exhibition of Krishna's Maya, but that is permanent. Yog Maya is temporary, Maha Maya is permanent. And the Yog Maya that is there and the Maha Maya, so Maha Maya is a perverted reflection over here of the Yog Maya. So Yog Maya is actually one who is connecting you to Krishna's, who's connecting you to Krishna. So how does this work? Let's go to the spiritual world for some time and see over there, how does this Yog Maya work over there? So in the spiritual world, when you see that there are many, many activities and many pastimes which the Supreme Lord and his internal energy, Srimati Radharani, they are actually, they have their conjugal pastimes with each other. And they are there on certain intervals also. So what happens is that whenever Vrinda Devi, who is actually the event manager over there, she organizes certain events. Over there, what is the role of Mahamaya? So for example, if Radha Krishna have to actually, perform that pastime of, sitting on the swing and, swinging on that swing. So immediately Vrinda Devi, she will send her parrots first and they will go and, see the scene over there. They see the place, whether it is a perfect place for having the swing pastime or not. And they will completely see that area and what all things are required for that pastime to be perfect. All that paraphernalia will be bought over there. So right from decorating that swing to actually, 56 bhoga items, chapan bhoga, or maybe 108 items. And there'll be a musical team also coming out. They'll be having kirtans also. There'll be somebody preparing something. So there is a whole team of, gopis and manjaris and all who are assisting each other. And that pastime happens over there. Now, while that pastime is happening, what is Yogamaya doing? Yogamaya is actually connecting every gopi, every manjari to actually Krishna. So they forget that, we are manjaris, we are gopis. They forget their, constitutional position. They forget everything. They only know that we want to actually please Krishna over there. And that's how that pastime happens, where Yogamaya helps you to connect with Krishna in 100%. It's not that, you're half-heartedly you are, serving Krishna in the spiritual world. So 100%, the gopis and the manjaris, or even in that matter, Mother Yashoda or Nanda Maharaj, they are serving Krishna in this. And even in the Damodar pastime also, Krishna forgot because the Lord's Achintya Shakti, or the inconceivable potency, because the Lord has many, many energies and all his energies are completely inconceivable. So Krishna's Achintya Shakti, when Krishna's inconceivable potency actually came into picture, and she actually put a covering in front of Lord Krishna and even Mother Yashoda. And that's where actually Yogamaya also has many, many, expansions over there, where she's the, inconceivable potency also, and she's the building potency also of the Lord. And she makes Krishna even bewildered. That imagine in that pastime, Krishna is running out of fear of his mother's stick. So the fear personified, who is fearful of the Supreme Lord, and Krishna, who is the Lord of that fear personified, he is also fearful of Mother Yashoda, and he's running from that fear of that stick. And then when Mother Yashoda finally she binds Krishna, that point of time where Mother Yashoda is not able to bind Krishna, over there also again another, potency of Krishna, the inconceivable, because Mother Yashoda is not able to know only. So there is the mercy Shakti, the Kripa Shakti of the Lord manifest over there. And when the Kripa Shakti is invoked, Mother Yashoda is able to bind Krishna. And Krishna, who nobody, so many yogis and so many, devotees are trying to bind Krishna, but Krishna is bound by Mother Yashoda only out of love. So, then the Yogamaya, the original Yogamaya is Krishna's potency, and actually that Yogamaya is an expansion of Srimati Radharani. And Yogamaya in the spiritual world is that means actually forgetfulness of your position over there, whatever you are, you want to just serve Krishna in the spiritual world. And Yogamaya means only the mercy that is connecting that particular devotee in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So this is actually about Yogamaya and Mahamaya. And of course, when we gradually advance in Krishna consciousness, then this is the mercy of the Yogamaya only. And how do we recognize Yogamaya? The more you get connected to Krishna, because yoga means connection, and the more we get connected to Krishna more and more, and we feel like chanting more and more, we feel like serving more and more, then Yogamaya is actually into picture. And when we feel like going away from Krishna, or something is dragging us or pushing us in the opposite direction, then that is Mahamaya. So like, Prabhupada gives a very nice example that when we are under the laws of the government, we cannot say that, no, I do not agree to abide by your laws. I'll behave the way I want to behave. No, that's not really possible. But when we are criminals and we are under certain laws or civil laws, then the laws also will be there. So we have to obey the laws of the government. And if we remain, civilized citizens of the government, then we are protected by the civil laws. But the moment we actually go against the laws, or we don't abide by the laws, then, immediately the criminal law will act upon us. So the criminal activities of law is actually Mahamaya. And she binds us into these threefold miseries always. She's always putting in some sort of misery. So, and the civil department of Krishna is Ananda Buddhi Vardhanam. So the moment we start abiding by the laws, then it will be Ananda Buddhi Vardhanam. It will keep on increasing. And what will keep on increasing? The joy will keep on increasing. And the depth of that ocean of joy will keep on increasing. So that is the difference between Yogamaya and Mahamaya. So Yogamaya is the original, the original Yogamaya is Krishna's internal potency, that is Srimati Radharani, and the Mahamaya is the external potency, that is Durga. And in the Brahma Samhita also it is said that Shishti Sthiti Pralashadaran Shakti Reka Chaye Vayasya Bhuvanani Bharti Durga. And this Durga is actually the superintending goddess of the whole material world. So when we say Durga, Durga means fort. This material world is compared to a fort. And we are actually into this fort. We are captured into this fort. And everything is actually going on under her control. So the prakriti that is there, the energy of the Lord that is there. So energy is actually accepted as feminine. So we all are actually prakriti only. You see, in the material world, materialistic people, they are working under some energy. And that energy is actually sex life. So they are troubling so much that, I want to just have sex every day. But in the Bhagavatam also, in the 7th canto, it is said that Janmaithunadi grahamedi sukham hitucham. She said that their complete life is based only on, everyone is working so hard only for that one thing that is there. And this material energy means only it will culminate into finally into sex. So if a person is working in a factory and if you tell him that please do not have sex, but he will not listen to you. For him that thing has become an intoxication. So this whole so for example, people have misinterpreted this love into sex, and that is even called lust also. So uh, uh, in the spiritual world, love is yogamaya, and in the material world, that lust is mahamaya. So where even if you see that Arjuna also was thinking in terms of his personal sense gratification. He was under mahamaya, and when he agreed to execute the Supreme Lord's order, then he came under yogamaya. So when we think for our own sense gratification, then we are in mahamaya. But when we think to execute the order of the spiritual master or the Supreme Lord as given in the Bhagavad Gita, then that is yogamaya. So because Arjuna is a living entity, he's actually into marginal energy of the Lord, and that is why then sometimes he becomes bewildered. He becomes he was thinking in for his own personal sense gratification, and that's how he came under the clutches of mahamaya at that point of time. But because he had Krishna and Krishna instructed him, that's how, and he obeyed Krishna, so he came under Mahamaya. So this Mahamaya, as I previously also told, that is actually drags a particular living entity from the Supreme Lord, is actually called Jadamaya also. And the Maya, which is acting on the transcendental platform, is called Yogamaya. So even in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that I forget that shloka. Mo vishaye gopir ganera upapati bhave yoga maya karibeka apanara prabhave. So saying that this influence of yoga maya, it will also inspire the gopis with that sentiment that Krishna is my pammer. So that's how the yoga maya, the internal energy of the Lord, it makes the Lord also forget himself, and he thinks himself as an object of love for his pure devotee in a very different mellow. So this yoga maya potency, what she creates now, she creates a spiritual sentiment in the minds of these gopis, and they think that the Lord is my pammer. And this sentiment, people in the material world, they compare it to some mundane illicit sex or sexual love. So this love that the gopis have is a very pure love, and this is on a very transcendental plane where these gopis nobody can understand the reality unless a particular person is sufficiently educated in the Shastras, and he will be twisting or turning these things when he reads this. But that is why we need a spiritual master or a guide to guide us. Otherwise, we can also. And in the very next shloka also says that amhi na jani taha na jane gopi gana dunhara rupe gune dunhara nitya hare manaham. He says that neither the gopis or I will notice that the minds have always been tranced by the beauty and qualities. So even in the spiritual sky, in the Vaikuntha planets, we have Lord Narayana, and his devotees also have the same feature. And over there also, Lord Narayana is actually exchanging, there is an exchange of devotion over there, of awe and reverence over there. And above the Vaikuntha is the Golok. So originally, the Krishna fully manifests his pleasure potency in these free-loving affairs. So the devotees in this material world know almost nothing about these affairs. So now the Lord desires to show these affairs to them. So in Golok Vrindavan, there is an exchange of love known as Parakiya Ras or Pamar love. And it is something like the attraction of a married woman to another man or other than her husband. So, and in the material world, this sort of relation is very abominable. It is not really, encouraged also, but it is a perverted reflection of that Pamar love. So that's how, that feeling between the devotee and the Lord are actually by the influence of Yoga Maya. And even in the Bhagavad Gita, where it is said that, it is said that, Mahatmanas tu mama partha devim prakritim ashritah. Those who are great souls or Mahatmas, what are they doing? They're completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And they're always engaged in the service of the Lord. And that is why, because they are engaged in the service of the Lord, they are always under the care of the Daivi Prakriti or the Yoga Maya. And that is why the Yoga Maya creates a situation where the devotee is prepared to transgress all these negative principles simply to love Krishna. So see, even in our lives also we have seen, okay, so many principles we have adopted, right? No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex, and so many other principles. Apart from these 4 main principles we have adopted, right? And the devotee naturally does not, the devotee naturally, likes to follow these laws, and he's prepared to do anything to love the Supreme Lord. He wants to, better his life for the sake of the Supreme Lord. And now, if a person wants to sacrifice something, maybe his time, maybe his life, maybe his wealth, maybe he wants to give his whole mind, his body to Krishna, then that is the influence of Yoga Maya. So, if somebody is under the spell of this Mahamaya, he cannot appreciate these activities of Yoga Maya because in the conditioned state, this soul cannot understand that pure reciprocation between the Lord and the devotee. So only when he is executing devotional service under certain regulative principles given by the spiritual master, then he elevates himself, and then he begins to appreciate the dealings of pure love that the Yoga Maya has managed. So that is why many times when 2 devotees meet and they have a very loving exchange, and here I am actually seeing from far distance, I'm not able to understand that how 2 people can love each other so wonderfully in devotional service, how they are able to cooperate with each other, how they are able to be subordinate to each other. How can a particular devotee be sold to the spiritual master? That we cannot understand, but over there, between the spiritual master and the disciple, there is actually pure dealings of love, and that is actually managed by the Yoga Maya. So in the spiritual loving sentiment, which is, where Yoga Maya is inducing that potency, Lord and the gopis, they forget themselves. They forget themselves in that spiritual, rapture. And by the influence of that forgetfulness, the attractive beauty of the gopis plays a very prominent part in that transcendental satisfaction to the Lord, and that has nothing to do with anything that is mundane. So, because the spiritual love for Supreme Lord is actually about anything that is mundane, and the gopis, it seems that the gopis are, on a superficial, but no, the gopis are completely into transcendental service to the Supreme Lord, and therefore this Yoga Maya is actually acting as the cover to the Lord also, and his pastimes also are covered to the mundane people. And where he says that in the 7th chapter, he says that I don't remember the shloka, but he says that he reserves the right of not being exposed to anyone. So now the Yoga Maya makes it possible for the Lord and the gopis in that loving ecstasy to sometimes meet and sometimes separate. Now, when they meet, there is some exchange of loving affairs. And when they actually separate also, there is love in separation also. Most of you all must have read His Holiness Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj's Mathura Meets Vrindavan book. And in that loving exchanges are completely elaborately explained, and how Krishna, when Radharani gets angry with Krishna, and how Krishna goes and pacifies her, and he takes different roles. Sometimes he goes as a, bangle seller, or sometimes he will go as a flower seller in the form, and he will try to pacify Radharani in different ways. And these pastimes are completely unimaginable to, this mundane, mind that is there, that how is it possible that Krishna acts like an henpecked husband, or he becomes henpecked to Srimati Radharani. So that is why if you see that the Lord appears before these mundaners to bestow upon them the highest form of realization, and also personally relish its essence. So the Lord is so merciful that he himself will descend to take that fallen soul back home, back to Godhead, and he will purify that particular person also. So that is why the Yoga Maya and the Maha Maya, they act in, complete this. So a person actually who understands that Ras Leela is, completely a pure, act of Krishna, and is a loving relationship between the gopis and the Supreme Lord. And when a realized soul is hearing the Lord's Ras Leela through a proper, proper authorized channel, then immediately that person will move himself, or he will not indulge into this material sexual pleasure. Immediately he will lose that taste for this material, sexual pleasure. So this is about, Mahamaya and Yoga Maya. And in this particular shloka, Mother Lakshmi, who is actually the pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord, and she is always engaged in serving the Supreme Lord 24/7. Of course, in the spiritual world, we don't have the influence of time, but just from a mundane sense, to understand that how she is serving the Lord by caring for details. Every detailed thing she is, taking care of. So when we say that Mother Lakshmi is all the time, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, and and even in the 9 processes of devotional service, when we say Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, and the next is naturally we will think that we want some service, we want some intimate service for the Lord. And even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj says that hearing and chanting about the Supreme Lord, or his holy names or form, qualities, pastimes and all, these are actually get to the point of serving the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and offering, praise to the Lord, becoming the servant of the Lord, and one who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through actually any of this. So you can perfect any one of it, and you can please the Supreme Lord and go back home, back to Godhead. So Bhakti Yoga, or these 9 types of devotional service, Prahlad Maharaj is saying that if somebody wants to become the servant of the Supreme Lord, because if you see how, whenever we serve somebody, that service defines our lives. If somebody is serving, in an IT company, or if somebody is serving his family members, so we serve many masters. We sacrifice our time and money also in the service of so many people, and we are forced to submit to even our physical needs and whatever mental cravings we have. So and we are servants to so many other things also. We are servants to traffics, weather changes, clocks, and so many other things. So in our daily activities, so much of our life we spend in fulfilling the needs and desires of other people. So there is a nice story which actually I remember, that there was a young man. He was a very ambitious man, and he wanted to know that who is the, whom should I serve? Who is the greatest person whom I can serve? So in that particular village, he went to that sarpanch, or the leader of that particular village. And he said that, I want to actually serve you. So he said, okay. So one day, there was another person who came to collect taxes from this leader. So he was thinking that, okay, this tax collector is even superior to this leader of the, what do you say, of the village. So what's that thing that's come on the screen? Okay. So then he thinks that, okay, this tax collector is actually in a superior position. So then that young man, he said that, okay, I think I should leave with him because I think he's in a superior position to you. Then these two actually collected many taxes from village to village and all. And then finally, when they collected all that money, then they went and gave that money to the governor's office. So now this particular young man, he is thinking that, okay, the governor is even superior to this tax collector. So he said the governor that I want to assist you and I want to serve you. So this governor also, what he used to do is, he used to actually submit all that money to the king. So the man said that, okay, I think the king is superior to this, governor also. And then he requested the king that I want to serve you. So the king gave some position in his court. And this particular man, he thought that, okay, I think I found the worthiest person. But one day, this young man, he saw that this king also, he's entering a temple and he's bowing before the deity of Krishna. So finally, this man understood that the ultimate goal of service is actually to serve Krishna. And he took up to the Bhakti Yoga path of, the service to Krishna. So then somebody is asking that why only Lakshmi, Mother Lakshmi is serving the lotus feet? Why feet only? And in the 9 processes of devotional service of the Bhakti Yoga, why Pada Sevanam is only more? Why the feet? So if you see in India, when we approach a person's feet, that is a sign of humility. And even to date also, even in our own houses that I have seen, or I remember that we used to always bow down to our parents and go to school. And when we used to go to school, we'll bow down or we'll touch our parents' feet. And when we'll come back, also we'll touch the feet. Or in that matter, any elderly person coming to our house, or we are going to any person, even to date, that particular samskara was imbibed into our consciousness so strongly that, children learn to touch their parents' feet, as a token of respect. So the, so the ordinary conception of feet is, not, altogether pleasing. And, and sometimes people don't really appreciate, but the feet of the Supreme Lord are so sweetly beautiful that the feet of the Lord are called the lotus feet. And then when we say lotus feet, then immediately, thinking of them, it is bringing a different type of deep feeling of love and longing for those lotus feet. So even the sun, the moon, and the wind, and all their, material aspects of the material world are delighted when Krishna is wandering in the forest of Vrindavan. Krishna is leaving his footprints in the dust, and all his Krishna's dear friends, the gopis and all, would actually press this dust again to their head and hearts. They would touch, and just touching that, dust of the lotus feet of Krishna, they were, transported in some different, zone, and they were lost in their ecstatic trance. So if you see the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord are described in very great details, that how, he has soft reddish soles, and, they're marked with lotus, conch shell, club, and the flag, and the thunderbolt, and fish, and all these. So to worship someone's feet is to accept the humblest approach. And yet the Lord makes this so attractive with his, exquisitely beautiful feet. So the worship of the lotus feet of Krishna is actually a spiritual blessing, because anyone charmed by those transcendental lotus feet, they will lose attraction for all temporary pleasures. So even Brahma, he prays that for one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, and those lotus feet are the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and the Lord, who is famous as Murari, because he actually killed the demon Mura. So that ocean of material world is just like a water that is contained in the calf's footprint. And because that devotee's goal is Parampadam, or, Goloka or Vaikuntha. So the place where there is no material misery, Vaikuntha, Vai means no, and Kuntha means misery, no misery. So not the place where there is, danger at every step. So this material world is called Kuntha, where there is danger, Padam Padam Yad Vipadam. So there is Kuntha, there is misery at every step. So if you see the logical progression of Pada Sevanam, it is coming after sufficient hearing about Krishna, chanting about him, remembering him. And when somebody is hearing about Krishna, immediately what you will feel like doing, you will feel like intimately serving him. So immediately, the person develops an urge to serve and perfect himself while serving. And the Srimad Bhagavatam also actually says that, what is that shloka? Devarashi bhutapta nirnam pitram na kinkaro nayam rini charajan Sarvatmana maya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam paririthyakartam. So he's saying that anyone who has taken the shelter of the lotus feet, of whom Gato Mukundam, lotus feet of Mukundam. And who is Mukundam? He's the giver of liberation. And he's saying that Na Kinkaro Nayam Rinicha Rajan. He's saying that he owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, and he gives up all those obligations also, and he's not obliged to anybody, neither the demigods nor the sages or any living entity, neither even to his family members or any Nidam, the king, Pitrinam also, his forefathers also, any Devarishi also, no, not even to the demigods also. So Prabhupada in that place, he's saying that anybody who attempts to serve anyone or everyone, actually he's trying to water the leaves and branches of the tree. But if he's watering the roots of the tree, then the water reaches all the parts of the tree. So he's saying that Krishna is the root of all the living entities. And if we serve Krishna, then you're serving everybody. You're serving the demigods also, the sages also, the living entities also, the pitras also, the forefathers also, the family members also. So Srila Rupa Goswami in his writings, he says that one who has become perfect by Pada Sevanam, and that is Mother Lakshmi. And why? Because Mother Lakshmi is always massaging the lotus feet of the Lord. And though actually by nature Mother Lakshmi is very restless, she keeps on moving, and she does not sit in one place. So, but even though Mother Lakshmi is restless and moving, she cannot quit the lotus feet of the Lord. And how we also have experienced that how Mother Lakshmi is very, restless, chanchal by nature, and sometimes it is temporary, sometimes you cannot, she's there and she's not there in the house. So one who is a devoted servant of the Lord, this goddess of fortune will always bestow her blessings in abundance. So if you see, many people go to temples and churches and mosques. What they do some barter exchange with the Lord. Okay, I give you this and you give me that. And sometimes the mother may also pray that, okay, please give me money for my child's operation, and an unemployed person is, please give me employment, and he's praying for the job. But see, even the Lord, he answers his prayers in his own way. And even though Krishna gives his benevolence in the form of faith, if for that person who has prayed, and still he will not forget to give his favor. So we should not be bargaining, for his favor. Because see, let us think about, somebody who is kind to you out of love, and somebody who is kind to you out of hope for a reward. Okay, you are standing in that position that where you are in a position to give. One person comes, selflessly, he loves you and he serves you. No, I don't want anything from you, but I'm just serving you. And there is another person, he's thinking that if I serve this person, I will get some money. Okay, so nothing is hidden, from Krishna. Whatever we have in our heart, Krishna knows what is there in our heart. So the test of a devotee's love comes when our requests are not answered. when even our most sincere, endeavors fail to, check the poverty, or when we are ill, or when somebody dies in our family, or there is a calamity in our lives. So then what will happen to their love then? Or what happens to our love then? Do we offer that same heartfelt prayers or worship to the Supreme Lord when we are in a distressful situation? So if you see, this Pada Sevanam is offering us such a wonderful spiritual lesson that it is helping us approach the Lord from a most humble position. And we are trying to understand the Supreme Lord from the lotus feet of the Lord, that even the goddess of fortune comes to him in that way. So all that wealth, honor, fortune, are the servants of the Supreme Lord. So when the Lord does not employ these servants, as our own, so we can continue to supplicate ourselves at his feet. So we can aspire to serve in the mood of Mother Lakshmi, in a very humble mood, without any expectation, without any rewards, and be contented, and be ready to render the lowest of the services also. So the image of Mother Goddess, Mother Lakshmi, is actually, she's bent over the feet of her master, and she is actually serving in the most humble position to the Supreme Lord. And if you see, Prabhupada also actually explains that the living entities also, by constitutional position, they are feminine by nature. The male is the enjoyer, or the Supreme Lord is the enjoyer, and all his different potencies are actually female by nature. So somebody may have a male body in one lifetime and a female body in the next, but ultimately they are meant to serve the Supreme Lord. The dominant role of a man in this world is so, it is very much misunderstood by people, that okay, a man is supposed to enjoy. But we over here, I might have a woman's body in this lifetime, maybe I'll have a man's body, but it is the temporary relationship between these embodied souls. So Mother Lakshmi's service, if you see, is actually a resentment or a pride for any of us, because she is more than just a role model for good wives. She performs the most treasured services by all the realized. So she's massaging these lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and she is trying to care for the details, and she is not seeing whether it is day, night, 24/7. She is massaging the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. So this practice of serving these lotus feet of the Supreme Lord is actually one of the fundamental process of devotional service, that Prabhupada says that, in many of his writings and many places, he has said that, Pada Sevanam is so very important, that when you serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, that's where you will gain the grace of the Supreme Lord. Now, serving the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord means only actually to follow his instructions. So when I say Pada Sevanam, so when I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita, when I am reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are certain instructions given by the Lord to the devotees, or even if he's giving it to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, actually those instructions are for me. And if I am following those instructions, of the Supreme Lord, which means what I'm doing, I am actually I am actually serving the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So even when in the morning, when we say we sing Guru Puja, right? What do we sing? That Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati. Rati means what? Attachment. Shri Guru Charane Rati. Shri Guru Charane Rati means when I'm attached to the lotus feet of the lotus feet of the spiritual master. But what is the meaning of attaching to the lotus feet of the spiritual master? Means I am attached to the instructions of the spiritual master. I want to abide by the instructions of the spiritual master. And that's how Mother Lakshmi is exemplifying the Padasenam. She has an exalted service of, carefully remaining at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And she is massaging the lotus feet with great reverence and affection. So, when we also chant, we also are hearing, when we are also serving the Supreme Lord. It can be any service, be it, chanting, be it, be it Shravanam, Kirtanam. We should also try to see that how can I hear the message of the Lord in great affection, in great reverence. Are my ears completely, hooked up to whatever the words of the spiritual master are, or the speaker is saying me? So Sankirtan is hearing and chanting the holy names of the Lord. And especially in this Kali Yuga, it is recommended. So while worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord is more emphasized. Actually, in Dwapar Yuga, it is emphasized, but Krishna's lotus feet, is often found in, the instructions on the Bhakti Yoga, which are meant for the beginners. So, so in the Bhagavatam also, Srila Prabhupada is explaining in the 7th canto. He's saying that according to one's strength and taste for hearing, chanting, and remembering, then the Pada Sevanam will follow. So if I have a very strong hearing, chanting, and remembrance of the Lord, then I'll feel like serving the lotus feet of the Lord. So, when I try to serve the lotus feet of the Lord after going through these stages of Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Vishnu Smaranam, then I will be able to even appreciate that Pada Sevanam more. In the Upanishad, in the Ishopanishad, they say that the Lord walks, but at the same time, he does not walk. His body is fully spiritual. He has, no trance of muscles or veins. So, when we are hearing such attractive features of the Supreme Lord, we'll naturally feel like serving the Supreme Lord. And that is why if you see many of the devotees, they have the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, on their desktops, in their rooms, and everywhere. So this is, very much important in our deity worship also. So indeed, in actually Pada Sevanam, circumlating the temple, the temple of the form of the Lord also is there, or going to holy places is also included, like you go for Vrindavan, Mayapur, and bathing in the Ganges is also actually recommended, because the Ganges is also emanating from the toe of the Supreme Lord. So taking a bath in the water of that, in that water of the Ganges is also Pada Sevanam. And the Vaishnava is actually known to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So when there is someone, who's representing God's benevolence, we feel inspired to serve that particular person who has achieved that Pada Sevanam level. So, and that is something really very deep and rare. So the pure devotee, the spiritual master, the spiritual master's feet do not necessarily have that physical appearance of the Krishna's lotus feet, but they are also respected as the lotus feet. Why? Because uh, it is through that very much humble submission and service to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord that we may access that relationship with Krishna. So, glancing upon that feet or serving those lotus feet, and it is those. So, when we are focusing on that lotus feet, what is happening? We are diverting our attention from our self-centeredness or our selfish motives, and we are focusing more on being selfless. So the devotees are very, kind by nature, and if one is indebted to someone for his kindness shown, gratitude and the spirit of service, then definitely there will be, humble feelings flowing, and that feeling may not allow us to meet the Supreme Lord, but still we serve the Supreme Lord in all that, without any expectation or without any selfish desires. In the Bhagavatam, where even the four Kumaras, they also how actually in the Bhagavatam, the four Kumaras were disciples of some spiritual master of the universe. Who were these four Kumaras? Lord Brahma. Sorry, I forgot. So it's a very classic example that the power of serving Krishna's lotus feet. So all these, small childlike Kumaras, they were transited from their birth. And when Lord Brahma gave them the instruction about Lord Krishna, they did not actually much care about it. And they had their own conception about the Supreme Lord's feature. But then, but they were actually still, devotees. But the moment they went to the heaven's door and they reached the Vaikuntha door, and they wanted to actually enter the Vaikuntha, the guards, Jai Vijay, they actually they stopped them from entering inside. And there was a heated argument. And to their innocent surprise, the Lord, he actually came to greet them and, satisfy their desire. So immediately, the Bhagavatam actually describes very in detail. I actually am forgetting that, instance where there is a complete description of this elevation where they were impersonalists and they became personalists, where when Lord Vishnu is actually coming from a distance, the breeze carrying that aroma of those tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord that entered their nostrils, and they experienced a change in their body and mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman, understanding. So the Lord's beautiful face appeared to them like just a blue lotus flower, and the Lord smiled. That smile of the Lord was just like a jasmine flower. And after seeing the face of the Lord, these sages were completely satisfied, and when they wanted to see him further, they looked upon the nails of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and the nails resembled like rubies, and they wanted to see the transcendental body of the Lord again and again. And then finally they actually achieved that meditation on that Lord's personal feature. And that is in the third canto, it is mentioned. So these Kumaras were completely stunned, and there they rested their eyes on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And the vision of the Lord matched with what their father had initially, what Lord Brahma had initially described to them. And that is why they were completely satisfied. So the whole trouble of that conflict with that guards actually, caused them to actually see the lotus feet or the power of his lotus feet, which were not being understood by them, even by words given by Lord Brahma. So then the Lord actually, gave them instructions further where they could be elevated and they could experience him and have a personal affection. And in many places, we will see that how the Lord's lotus feet are the perfect shelter. The Lord's lotus feet are the resting place for even the big yogis. And even the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu completely explains chapter 18. You can go and read the chapter 18 that completely explains the internal mercy of serving the spiritual master and Krishna's lotus feet, and how just as a child catches the shoes of the parent, so the devotee also catches the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So the lotus feet of the spiritual master and Krishna are actually the merciful shelter of our happy aspiration to love Krishna. So I'll rest my speech over here. If anybody has any questions, queries, doubts, you all can ask. I
Hare
think I was
Krishna.
far away from my screen, maybe.
Hare Krishna Mataji, then pranam to you.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Shri Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Mataji. Very beautiful class. Very beautiful class, Mataji. Little technical also. So, but
Yeah.
of course, yeah, the focus was Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. We all got bewildered in that. So it was a little technical too. But certainly very beautiful, Mataji. Very beautiful. More we study the Shastra, actually, more we chant. We realize what is Yoga Maya, and that is helping us. And what is Mahamaya, that was keeping us far away from Srila Prabhupada. So beautiful, beautiful class, Mataji, and very concentrated on Pada Sevanam. You touched so many points on Pada Sevanam and so many quotes and so many quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't know how you remember all those shlokas, Mataji, but very, very beautiful, Mataji. Thank you so much. Mataji, if you have some time, we can go to the question answer session, maybe, Mataji?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Hare, so many hands are raised. Our very dear Sukhakara Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. You can unmute yourself, Prabhu. You're unmuted.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Your God sister gave such a wonderful class today.
Yes.
After your class, I will never miss this. So my throat is not well, but still I will ask. Mataji, you told about the lotus feet. It was very wonderful. So I just want to add the fish mark in the lotus feet of Krishna. If you are lotus feet, you are praying. That's called Matsya, and that's remove the Matsarya, which is the envy. So if you worship the lotus feet, then our envy will go. And if you worship the lotus feet, they say conch shell Shanka. That will devotees will be coming out of the blazing fire. Samsara Davana will be removed when you worship the lotus feet of Krishna. Then the next is Chakra. That is, the Chakra will cut the 6 enemies. Kama, Krodha, Moha, Lobha, Madhamasra will be going out. And then it's Dvaja, flag. The flag will make you to make your flag fly high, that you will become a very good devotee when you worship the lotus feet of Krishna. The thunderbolt, Vajra, that will smash the Prarabdha karma, all the sins will be smashed out. The Kamala, lotus flower, that will make you the benefit what Lakshmi is doing for this. It is representing Lakshmi Devi. So you will become opulent by worshipping Krishna, lotus feet. And then the flower Pushpa, that will make you divine flower of the Lord, and the fragrance of the Lord will come upon you. You will become fragrant. And the Gada club, that lotus feet will chastise the elephant of sinful lust. And altar Vedi, there is also altar in the that will make you to burn up all your bad things in the altar of sacrifice. And the umbrella Chatra, that will shield you from incessant rainfall of material miseries. Adi Bodhik, Adi Devik, Adi Dev. So these are the 11 things. There are actually 8 on the right side and 11 on the right side and 8 on the left side.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I've
I'm
given
not
a
trying to.
class on this. I've given a separate class, Prabhuji. I'll maybe share the screen link
Yeah,
with you. I've given a class on the auspicious marks on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna also and Srimati Radharani also.
Radharani and also Balram.
I did
All the
not
three
cover
are.
it because I wanted to primarily cover the Pada Sevanam part and
Yes.
Yogamaya and Maya. So I took
I
these
didn't
two.
want to show my expert or anything. Just wanted to add this also.
Yeah, that's a good remembrance that we can actually the mark, the fish mark shows that just as the fish cannot live without water. Similarly, the surrendered devotees cannot live without directly associating with the Supreme Lord's lotus
Yes.
feet. It is actually
Mataji, I got some other questions also. Now, Krishna is a Naistika Brahmachari. Okay. And Krishna had 16,108 wives, and each wife had 10 sons and 1 daughter. So it's a mind-boggling figure, 1,64,000 children. Now, all these children, because Krishna is not having a material body, so he is having no gross on it, he is having spiritual body. So all these were Manasika Putras, or it is like through the womb.
So actually, see, when Krishna, when he's having these 16,108 wives, these wives, we know that they had done a lot of tapasya and, they had done a lot of austerities. And that's how, Krishna, was their husband. And of course, Krishna is protecting them also when he thinks. So when Krishna, when these 108 wives of, these princesses got married, so, when he married, each wife had a palace. And not only that, he married 16,000 wives and he was apart from them also. So with each wife, he was present also. But when we say that, over here we say bhoga, but actually it was not bhoga. Okay. It was actually yoga. Why? Because both are connecting with each other and the mood is of service to the Supreme Lord. So even these wives, they were in the mood to serve the Supreme Lord. They didn't want to do bhoga. They wanted to actually connect
Yoga.
with the Supreme, wanted to serve the Supreme Lord. So, so it's not like that, the mundane sex that we have over here, these were born from that mundane sex, but they were born, in a spiritual sense. So these children or these wives, they did not have to go through that seminal process as such. So it's just that these wives were pregnant and the children were born. Like in the case of Mother Devaki, what happened? From, Vasudev's mind, the Supreme Lord got transported to the mind of Devaki, and then from Devaki's mind to the heart, and then to the womb, that way. So, sometimes spiritual things are a little difficult to understand, that how is it possible that these children were just born. But that is Krishna's, again,
inconceivable.
Yeah, it bewilders us, and we can just understand that they were their children and they were born of Krishna.
And Mataji, this in heavenly planets, do they have no gross body, only subtle body? In the spiritual material world, we have got gross and subtle. In the heavenly planets, do they have a subtle body and gross body, or only subtle body?
No, there is a gross body also and a subtle body, because this is the material world, no, Prabhu?
Okay.
This is the material world. So definitely there will be a gross body, there will be a subtle body, and that subtle body will have some actions. But over here, we are more on a grosser level than on a subtle level. their actually subtle bodies work more actively than the gross bodies. That way.
So they are all devotees, but still have sense gratification. They are devotees.
Yes. They have still sense gratification. They still have envy. They still have, desire for power and position. Pride. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Our Karpavalli Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Dhanva Pranam. You can unmute yourself, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji, for that wonderful session, Mataji. I have little doubts, Mataji. Mataji, Radharani is the internal pleasure potency of the Lord, and what is that Yogamaya, Mataji? Is the external potency, that external potency. And another thing, and Mahalakshmi is Yogamaya or Mahamaya, who is serving the Lord always. I want to clarify, Mataji.
So, as I actually previously also said that actually this Yogamaya is actually the energy of Radharani only. Means from Radharani only the Yogamaya has actually come. So, so it is creating, a spiritual sentiment for this for the devotees. And in this, Yogamaya is the original Yogamaya, and she is Krishna's internal potency, and actually that is Radharani. So from Radharani only comes this Yogamaya. Okay, so that's how this. And Mahalakshmi is actually coming from Mahamaya. So Radharani's another expansion is actually Mahalakshmi, and that Mahalakshmi is only actually Mahamaya. So Radharani has two this parts. One is Yogamaya, she expands into Mahamaya. Those who want to remember Krishna, then Yogamaya. Those who want to forget Krishna, then Mahamaya acts into their life that way. But still Mahalakshmi facilitates devotees in some way where, somebody is asking something, okay, de diya jaye, give it. So that, he develops faith in some supreme person. And then if these people who want to ask something from the Lord, and they think that no, now enough, how much will we ask? Now we want to ask for the rarest. We want to ask Mahalakshmi that what is best for me, you give me that only. To Lord Shiva also, if somebody asks what is best for me, Lord Shiva, you give me that only. Then what these people will do, what these demigods will do, they will award, bhakti. They will say, okay, for the living entity, the best is, serve the Supreme Lord, because I am also serving the Supreme Lord. Let them also serve the Supreme Lord. So that is how they will avoid Krishna bhakti to the living entities. When the living entities say that I want something that is best for me, you give me that only. Not anything material. What is spiritual is best for me, you give me that. Then that time the demigods will award them this benediction.
Mataji, that Rukmani Devi, Mataji. Rukmani is Mahalakshmi's expansion.
No, Rukmini is expansion of Srimati Radharani only.
Oh, yes, Mataji.
Expansion of Srimati Radharani only.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for clarification.
Thank you, Mataji, for joining every day. Hare Krishna, Shri Ishopanit Mataji. Ishopanit Mataji. Yeah, you can unmute yourself, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Haribo. Thank you, Mataji, for your wonderful lecture. I wanted to ask a question in relationship to serving the spiritual master. And in relationship to that instruction of the spiritual master, with serving the spiritual master receive the same type of benefit as serving the demigods, or just asking for benefits from demigods? Or what would be the difference? What's more important? I know following the instructions is very, very important. And would there be benefit from, following the instructions from a demigod? Haribol, Hare Krishna.
So you mean to say that directly a demigod gives you an instruction and you want to follow that instruction? I was not able to understand the question correctly.
What I was trying to understand is that we know as devotees that following instructions of the spiritual master is the most important thing there is. But when we're in relationship to being a devotee, following that instruction is so beneficial to our spiritual life. It's beyond, it gets us back home, because following that instruction seems to be so much importance put on that. But at the same time, we find so many of us are worshiping the demigods and, trying to receive benefit from them. So what I'm saying is that what's more important? Is it, is following the instruction of the spiritual master just as important as receiving benefit from a demigod? Or will we receive benefit from a demigod? Do we have the qualification to approach a demigod to receive any type of benefit from it?
Yeah,
What's
thank
the
you, Ma'am,
difference?
for that question. Yeah, I understood. So see, out of the two, following the instructions of the spiritual master is more beneficial. Why? Because the spiritual master exactly knows what is our psychophysical nature, and accordingly, he will engage us in the service of the Supreme Lord. Now, a demigod will, because it is his duty to give whatever is being asked by the worshipper, so he will just give irrespective whether I deserve or desire.
Mm-hmm.
He will give me, even if I don't deserve, only if I desire, he will give me. But whatever I've desired, and even if I don't deserve, if he gives me that, I might fall into trouble also. I may not appreciate that also, and that is not going to uplift me also in my spiritual path. Right? Many times, like for example, when I ask my mother ice cream, and if I'm ill and I have 103 temperature, my mother will slap me and she won't give me, right? We know this famous example. And the same, I go to an ice cream man and I tell him, give me, an ice cream, because it is his duty, and he is actually that is his, that is his business, you can say. So even if I have 103 temperature, he will give it to me irrespective, because I have just given him money, and then he gives me that, product, that ice cream. So demigods are like that ice cream man. Whether you deserve, you don't deserve, they don't see you, they'll just award you. But the Supreme Lord or the spiritual master will give you only what we deserve and not what we desire. Right? So for example, I desire to the demigod that I want a very big house. But if that big house is going to be a troublesome for me in my Krishna consciousness, or in the path of getting me to the spiritual platform or to the spiritual world, then Krishna will not give me. Krishna will say that is detrimental to my Krishna consciousness, so Krishna will not give me, or the spiritual master will not sanction it. Sometimes, like in Prabhupada's time, there were many, Prabhupada's disciples, they said that we wanted to do this, but Prabhupada never sanctioned that. And later on, they realized that, yes, Prabhupada did not sanction it because that was detrimental to my spiritual health. And that is why I should not be, doing this. And I specifically remember one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, I wouldn't name him. He actually wanted to, he wanted to open some business, and Prabhupada did not allow him. He said, you distribute books, for you, that is more better. And he's a very good book distributor now, and he's happy doing it. So many times I feel that, and even I have experienced in my own life that our superiors, when they say something to us, they actually know our psychophysical nature, and that's why they're giving it. Like, I never wanted to enter into IT. I always wanted to enter into teaching, but because that race was into the IT, so I entered IT and I was never happy over there. And eventually I did my master's in education, and I did bachelor's in education and I did master's in education also. And now I'm very happy teaching. I'm very happy teaching small children, big children, teenagers, senior citizens. I'm very happy teaching them. So I have teaching as a profession also, and I have this spirit. So I have material teaching also, and I have spiritual teaching also. So I had gone to my spiritual master that I'm very frustrated in the IT industry. I don't want to actually, it's eating me up. So my spiritual master suggested me that you go into such a profession which is not time consuming, and you find out what keeps you happy. And that's how I told him that teaching keeps me happy. I know, because from the age of 16, I used to teach. So when I was 16 years old, I used to teach children who were 12, 13, 14 years old. So that's how that teaching gave me, happiness that way.
Shai, thank you so very much. Haribo, you are expert at teaching. Thank you. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna. Haribo.
Thank you. It's all spiritual master's mercy. Otherwise, what
Jai.
some person speak and a layman climb the
Jai.
mountain.
Thank you very much. Haribo. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for the beautiful answer. Thank you, Mataji, for asking the question too. Mataji, I don't see any more hand raised. So, Mataji, with your permission, maybe we can end the class, Mataji.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you
sure.
so much, Mataji, for coming on the call. Dear devotees, let us pay our obeisances to Mataji and all the assembled devotees and all the Vaishnavas. Vancha kalaptaru vaishyacha kripa sindhu kanam pavane
Vaishnavibhyo
namah.
Namah.
Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ji ki jai.
Jai.
Her Grace Krishna Rupa Mataji ki jai.
Jai.
All glory to
Remember